You hate to see it. You hate to throw it. This is, in my opinion, the hardest shot in disc golf. Here's what I mean. Patent pending shots are some of the toughest shots to throw in all of disc golf. So here are 6 ways to execute better patent pending shots. Hey everybody, what is up? It's Antonio. Welcome to another episode here on Gladiator Disc Golf. Today is day 10 of the 30 videos and 30-day challenge. We are a third of the way through. So let's go ahead and let's talk about patent pending shots. These are some shots that, really hard to execute out on the course. Here are a couple tips to help you get better at it. Tip number 1, if you have a forehand, opt for the forehand. And a lot of times if I'm stuck behind a tree like this, because this tree is in the way, and what typically is going to happen in those situations is I'm going to yank it, which means the tree over there all of a sudden comes into play. If you have a forehand, all of a sudden a shot like this is completely open, and this tree and that tree and that tree don't even come into play. So you can get a lot more distance with the forehand with just a flick of the wrist and a little bit of your arm, versus the backhand where just using your arm kind of makes it a little bit of touch and go. And with the forehand, more than likely you're at least facing the target or where you're wanting to throw. The next step when you're in a tricky spot and you have to throw a patent pending shot is to transfer your backhand form as best as possible. So if I'm trying to throw the backhand here, okay, unless I'm just pitching out, okay, literally 5 feet in front of me, this is not really going to generate a lot of power for me when trying to throw the backhand in a patent pending position. So what I want to do is I want to flip flop my feet. That way I can get my lower body, okay, involved in the throw, which is what we want in the backhand throw. And so transferring that all of a sudden makes the patent pending shot a lot better. Tip number 3 is to keep it simple and fluid. It's really easy to get stressed and worked up when you have a patent pending shot, especially if you're having a tough round. I've been there. When you keep it simple, when you keep it fluid, when you stay relaxed, you start to see new possibilities. Oh, I can go a little bit higher and I can throw a nice soft forehand chip shot that'll come and finish nice and flat. Or, you know, I can execute this backhand because I don't have anything over here that's going to put me in danger. We need to be aware of our surroundings, but we don't want to be stressed out about, oh, I'm stuck in this tree or I'm stuck in this bush, to the point that we're thinking more about where we are versus where we want to be on the fairway. Hey everybody, have you liked those 3 tips so far? Well, get ready because we got 3 more coming your way. But before we get to them, go ahead and like this video and subscribe so that you can get day 11 of the 30 videos and 30-day challenge. All right, let's get back to it. Tip number 4, don't try to do too much. There are some instances where you're just really maybe having to lean too far out for the forehand that it feels higher risk, low reward than you want. And same thing for the backhand. So sometimes all you have to do is take the gap that you're given in front of you, out to the right, out to the left, wherever it is, sometimes even behind you, and just pitch out. Pitching out at least gets you into the fairway and gives you a higher percentage of executing the next shot. Tip number 5 is to identify your tendency on patent pending shots. Some players tend to early release on patent pending shots, so they go way too far to the left. Other players tend to yank or pull when throwing on a patent pending shot. You want to identify your tendency, and although we want to prevent either one of those things happening with these other tips, as you're progressing, as you're getting better, you have to figure out what you tend to do wrong. Throw the disc that's going to correct that tendency. So if you have a tendency of early releasing, take a disc like the Hex or the Paradox, a disc that has turn in it, a disc that will keep turning. Okay, if you do that on a shot where you early release, all of a sudden you'll get a nice bending shot, or at least it can help, okay? It's not a guarantee every time, because even those discs, when thrown poorly, are going to hyzer and finish left. Now, this tip is not something that we want to continually carry with us, but it's simply just helping us as we identify our tendencies with the patent pending shot. And the sixth and final tip is to aim out further than you think. Now, I'm not talking distance, but a lot of times a patent pending shot, especially with forehand, is gonna be some kind of flex shot. And the same thing can be said for the backhand. You're kind of throwing some kind of flex shot most of the time. You're trying to take advantage of and take as much width as you can. When you're doing that, the tendency a lot of times with that flex shot is to throw the anhyzer line on the inside, so that when it fades and finishes out, it'll come to the right on the forehand, let's say, and it'll get you back into the fairway. When you yank a forehand on an inside anhyzer line, those trees on the left side of the fairway that you're trying to get back into, you're bringing them back into play a lot sooner. And chances are the disc won't have enough time to fade out. So what you want to do is actually aim closer to the back line of the trees that you're throwing at, on that anhyzer line, and let the disc fly out to those trees and keep turning. And then with an overstable disc, the stability, depending on how hard of a shot you're throwing, meaning like distance wise and then power behind it, it will either come back and flex out and finish, with some fade, or it'll have just enough stability to finish flat and get you right in the middle of the fairway. You want to aim further than you're thinking. You want to push that back line of trees with that flex line. That way you can get the full flight and really stay out of trouble. So go ahead and give these tips a try, and I'll see you next time where we talk about my favorite shot in all of disc golf, the hyzer flip.